there.
No worries.
Can you hear that you're in?
Welcome to From the Valley Podcast with your host, Tim Wilshire.
Welcome along to episode 94 of From the Valley Podcast, Brisbane Life, and we've got a very special guest on the show for episode 94. He's about 9'4". He's a very tall guy. Brian Debert from Dirty Debertie Golf. Brian Debert Golf, welcome along to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Good to be online, I suppose, is how you say it now. I don't know. So, yeah, everybody's online doing podcasts now because we can't see each other. So
that's exactly right. So, it's great. I listened to at least half of your show last night. That was quite good. Always some good topics.
Yeah.
Just to give the listeners a bit of background, I guess where I first sort of come across Brian was Brian Debert's golf Facebook page. I guess we could probably start there if you like. How did that all sort of come about? When did you sort of come up with the idea to start what's become a very sort of, popular, especially in this part of the world, in Australia, Facebook group that discusses golf generally, people that love golf, that sort of thing? What was the motivation in getting that all started?
I mean, first of all, thanks for the kind words. That's nice to hear. I suppose it all started off because a long time ago, probably 2014, we started a YouTube channel. A few mates of mine. Long story short, a few of us started falling out. We went our own ways, and one main reason why I went my own way is because I didn't want to be told what I can and can't say from the PGA and I suppose the people in charge, so to speak, of golf. And I found there was a bit of a niche for just a page just to be honest and say stuff, and sometimes it can be stupid and funny, but at the end of the day, I think there's so much political correctness now in golf's really got quite a lot of it. And I figured, if there's a page that I can create that will keep people interested and talking about the elephant in the room sometimes, and which I know, like, golf's a sport which is very traditional and pure, kind of like tennis in a way with Wimbledon, where, you've kind of got to toe the line, where I think my page is more about just being honest and funny. I know some topics I put up there, like can of worms, can get out there a bit crazy. That's why I probably had to put a few disclaimers. Just there's no right or wrong answer. We can just have a topic and a conversation. But I think the page pretty much got created and just went from there, just on, just letting people be honest. Because at the end of the day, I find a lot of golf pages now have to answer to someone. And a lot of people who run golf pages or work in the industry, that's probably the one key thing for me is I don't. So a lot of people have to be careful what they say, certainly, when they do like pages in industries, because if they work in that same industry, they're accountable. Where I run a car cleaning company, so really that's two different things. So what I say in the golf industry is not going to affect me with cleaning cars on Monday. You know what I mean? So, which be it as I may, I've actually had a lot of business through my page of followers who I clean cars now for anyway. So it's actually had probably a good effect. Yeah.
Excellent, mate. So that's an interesting spot to start, but I think just to bring the listeners into, I guess, how we sort of got connected initially, and we've obviously played a couple of days of games of golf together and golf days, etc. But going back a bit further, whereabouts were you born? Where did you sort of live early in your life and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. That's kind of, for anybody who doesn't know, probably about 4 hours south of Chicago in a different.
So in the States, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, in Missouri.
So Dad was in the US Navy, met Mum when she was backpacking at Xmas in Perth. Dad was, I can't remember, I think it was the Cold War when the Americans were over there spying on the Russians. I think that's why all the Americans were building all these TV, radio aerials over in Western Australia there to keep an eye on what was going on during the Soviet Union. I guess, I don't know. Dad met Mum there, they travelled around. I think they had me in St. Louis and then my sister when they moved back here on the Gold Coast. And so that's pretty much where I was from. What was the second part? You kind of broke up there.
So I guess that's where you were born, and then I guess how long were you sort of, where did you, anywhere else you sort of moved to early in your life, that sort of thing? Any other places?
We lived in America for, so I think I did grade 1 through grade 12 here in Australia. So we grew up in Zillmere before it became like unit blocks and all that. Zillmere School was a suburb back then.
Yeah.
Now it's just six apartment buildings everywhere.
Yep.
And then I think we moved around from Stafford, places like that. But then after grade 12, graduated Asbury High School, went to play college baseball in America for 3.5 years. Then came back here, played a bit more baseball in the old Australian Baseball League, and then kind of got back into golf because golf.
So going back a bit there, you were playing baseball
Yep.
as a child. I mean, that was obviously was your sort of favourite sport sort of growing up as an early teenager, or?
Yeah, well, it was kind of funny in a way because when we first came here, Dad got into coaching cricket, and he wasn't really accepted because he was this big, loud American voice on the cricket field. And I suppose he's quite intelligent and he learns sports very quickly, but I suppose he wasn't really accepted too early on because hearing an American accent on the cricket field back in the late 80s, early 90s really wasn't something people had heard before. So we played cricket for about 2 or 3 years, and then I think we finally realised we weren't going to get anywhere because of Dad being American, so we just came across baseball. We didn't realise it wasn't really too big when we first started playing. And then in that mid to late 90s era, like baseball, basketball, everything just boomed. Remember the Brisbane Bullets?
Yeah.
Everything boomed back then. Went through that high point, and that's when I got into baseball. And yeah, I think baseball and basketball is where I played. But when you get to a certain level in sport, you kind of got to choose which one you want to keep going with. And because I was 6'6", and that's considered tall, but that's not.
Were you sort of a pitcher more, or sort of in a hitter?
I was a pitcher.
Yeah.
So, although I was a hitter, a first baseman, third baseman, but when you get over there, you've got to pretty much choose which one you want to be.
Which position, yeah.
There's a lot of people out there trying to do the same thing, so you can't really diversify too much. You've got to kind of put all your eggs in one basket. So, but yeah, I think golf to me back then was just like something I played outside of with friends, which definitely turned into something more serious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, and what about? You probably can remember this. What was your first job that you had as a youngster growing up?
My first job was the first real job, I suppose. I used to, when I was before you could actually legally work. I think 15. I think is when you started working. I used to go around door knocking at Brighton, doing odd jobs for cash.
Okay.
But actually, I mean, Dad laughed because one of the funny stories was there was a second-hand shop closing up down the road at Brighton, and they had a fish tank for $40, and for $40, brand new fish tank on a stand for $40, and in 1992, $40 is probably like $200 now. I don't know what in comparison, but anyway, I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was pulling weeds, doing everything, and I got to $35. And anyway, a local, we lived, I don't know if you're familiar with Brighton, but there's St. Kieran's, I think.
I lived in Brighton once, yeah.
And the lady heard what I was doing, and then she donated me the extra $5 to get the fish tank, and that was pretty much my first job. But my first real job was at Sizzler as a dishwasher. And once you see how food's made in Sizzler, it's kind of anything wrong with it. It's just like a lot of add water kind of products. You have the mashed potato, you just add water, the chocolate mix, you add water. So what used to be my favourite food was slowly not anymore after I worked there. But I suppose you can say that for a lot of things in life. Like once you see how anything's made, it changes your opinion. So yeah.
Wow, there's some of the jobs there. So obviously, as a teenager, golf obviously did interest you, but obviously you're pursuing some other sports there for a while. When did you when did I guess the switch hit as far as golf was concerned? When did you think, shit, I love golf. This is what I want to do. And how long ago was that? And
I suppose I've always played golf. I started playing golf, and I think I was. When we moved out to Edenshill, we were like the third house to be built out at Edenshill, so we're talking like 1996 or 97.
Yep.
There was a little course there called Albany Links. And,
I played Albany Links. Yep.
Yeah, it's shut now, unfortunately. But,
yep.
I played my first ever game was a Boxing Day, backdating a day or two. I got a dozen Sporting plus golf balls and a half set of Brosnan. And back then, I didn't realise the golf balls you had were the ones you had to play with forever, kind of like baseball, you kept the balls. I didn't realise you could lose the golf ball. And so I remember I went down the golf club and stayed there for hours trying to find this last Sporting plus that I must have chipped somewhere. I eventually found it. It wasn't until I got home that Mum laughed and said, "Oh no, you can lose a golf ball." Because when you come from baseball and basketball, you don't lose balls. You collect them. Training wouldn't finish until there's 100 balls back in the bucket.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's kind of what people feel on people losing. People don't care. But I suppose it took me to realise that golf was different. Like golf was designed to lose balls, otherwise the manufacturers wouldn't make money. But yeah, I think I started playing. I never really played it serious. Like I suppose I did play it serious, but it wasn't really like a sport that I ever thought was actually going to go anywhere. Not that it probably has, so to speak, but when you go to America and play, you pretty much got to sign a contract. When I played baseball in college, you wouldn't play any other sports.
Yeah.
Because when they give you a scholarship, they don't want you to get injured playing anything else.
Yep, fair enough.
So a bunch of us would usually have like a, I can probably say the story now because it's been 20 years, but we would have this understanding where we'd say we're going to go grocery shopping at 4 o'clock today, and that was code word for we'll meet at the golf course and play 9 holes. So
Yes.
the coach thought we were going grocery shopping, but in reality we're actually going to go play golf. So, and the guy that used to run the golf pro shop knew about it and didn't care because he was still getting money. So, but it probably wasn't until I came back and I joined a few clubs over here and got a handicap and got more serious. The golf I played a lot more serious, but.
So what was the first club that you sort of joined it as a club here in this area?
The best club? Probably right now, probably Nudgy. Like, I've been a member of one teamer as a junior. I was a member of a junior, and now I'm a member of Nudgy. Although I'm a member of the ambassador for golf at Mullaney, so I do like Mullaney. But I do find that the nicer the golf course that you want to be a member at, the money obviously goes up. So I would love to be a member at RQ, but I couldn't justify a $10,000 nomination fee. I think, that's. I'd love to join RQ, but $10,000 can go a long way different ways. So.
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people that have been members at either of those, those clubs that you sort of mentioned, One Teamer and Virginia and Nudgy. And Nudgy's obviously played there not too long ago. They've obviously done a bit of a revamp on that course. It should come together quite nicely. It's looking quite good closer to the highway there. That those holes there that they've done are looking really good. Hopefully, when it's all finished, it's going to look great too.
Yeah.
So I guess that's some of the courses, that's some of the memberships you've been in this area. Have you sort of lived outside of Brisbane? Brisbane, the only sort of area you've lived in Australia?
When we first came back from America, we lived on the Gold Coast for a couple of years. I think that was during my preschool years. But it's always ever been Brisbane. Like, ideally, Christine and I would like to move to Tasmania. I think that's our long-term plan because I think the housing affordability, climate, stuff like that, we do prefer that. But I suppose it's just...
I reckon certainly it's... I was born in Tasmania. I lived my first 21 years there. Beautiful place. And, you can just... we'll talk a bit about some of those golf courses in Tasmania, but just a nice place. It's obviously becoming a little bit more expensive in and around Hobart, but there's certainly a lot of affordable areas there. And
I kind of miss the boat for getting cheap housing.
Once you sort of go from even Brisbane to somewhere like Tasmania, and you can just travel so far and see, geez, that didn't take very long to go from here to here. And that's the sort of feeling you get when you live down there. It's sort of, you can get everywhere fairly quickly. You can get from one side of the state to the other.
We found that there was a traffic jam in Tasmania was totally different than up here.
Yeah.
So, and what they call big traffic down there was a lot different. Like, I suppose you only know that when you live in like a big, I think Brisbane's the third biggest city in Australia.
Yeah.
So going from there down to Hobart, which is I think 250,000 people, I think the whole state of Tasmania is under.
It's about 500,000 all up in Tassie.
But no, that's kind of like the dream. I think we're probably going to wait a few more years to do it, or at least buy a block of land and see what happens. So
buy a block of land. That sounds like a great idea, to be honest. It doesn't matter where, just somewhere where near a beach, even, or near somewhere. Good. It's certainly the way to go. What do you think is the most exciting or favourite golf course that you've played on? First of all, in Australia.
First of all, probably, look, honestly, maybe I'll break it down. I'll say the one I'd like to travel to the most, I think, would be Richie River or Mullaney. But my probably favourite one in Australia would probably have to be Lost Farm down in Tasmania. I did come back from a trip at King Island. Those courses were lovely, but they're just... sometimes I wish I was a professional golfer to really take advantage of how those courses are, because I'd imagine, say, for example, going to play Augusta, I'd imagine the average golfer would get quite angry after 4 or 5 holes because of how hard it is to really truly enjoy it. And I think that's what King Island was so amazing to play. But it was also just very, very hard on you. You go to take in too, because it was just, but my favourite course without a doubt, Lost Farm, because it's open. There's different ways to play it. I think there's 4 or 5 different tee variations with like 100 metres in between each one. So
I should have. I'm just disappointed I didn't play Lost Farm. I played Barn Boogle when I was there, but I never played Lost Farm. So a bit disappointed. But when you're with your wife, you know she doesn't want you can't get away with 2 days of golf. I couldn't get away.
Yeah.
Couldn't get away with 2 days of golf, one after the other. So we played Barnbougle, but certainly, would have loved to have played Lost Farm.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's, I guess. Have you? What about overseas? Is there anywhere overseas that you've played that has been quite exciting of a course?
I'd say I've played. I'll give you three. Probably Royal Hawaiian. Royal Hawaiian Golf Club was amazing because we played there I was there for my sister's wedding, and normally it should have been about $400 or $500 green fee, but we got it for $70 because
Jesus, that's good.
Some kind of Hawaiian holiday where the locals weren't playing, so tourists got on cheap. Then I'd probably say Marina Bay in Singapore was amazing, but they're probably my favourite club I've ever played.
What was the price like to play in Marina Bay? Was that pretty expensive?
Yeah, I got it obviously free because we did a film there. But
oh, really?
Wow. Charging, I think it was incredible. I can't remember what it was because if you're a local there, I think it's quite cheap. But if you're a tourist, it's really expensive. But I think the Yells Club in Langkawi in Malaysia was probably the best course I've ever played in my life because it was just, we were the only ones playing it because apparently there was a rumour the Prince of Malaysia was going to play golf, so nobody went to the course. We had the entire course to ourselves. But it's just kind of, in that climate where it's hot and steamy, grass is always green. And the whole course, even the rough where they don't really make nice. It was just like, honestly, you could lay that grass in your bedroom for carpet and you wouldn't be angry. So, but I think in those courses, what I liked them the most is because golf is part of the experience, from getting dropped off to, like, they clean your clubs before you go on the course, they clean your clubs after you come on the course, you get to have a shower, you get a towel, they make a driving range ball pyramid for you to hit balls from, they give you cool towels to come out, like you have caddies, like it's a whole experience, and I don't think we really have that over here. I think it's more of an Asian kind of thing, because over there you're buying an experience. Over here it's probably more about the golf.
Yeah. Mm. What about in America, sort of in the main part of America, any sort of other courses over there?
No, because when I was over there, the only courses we could play were the ones, like I said before, like on the down low. We weren't allowed to play any really nice courses because a lot of the courses knew the colleges and knew the players, so we had to play like little 9-hole courses that were just, like go tracks and things. Yeah. They weren't bad, little like in between. Because when I was over there, we weren't really allowed to play it, so I wasn't really allowed to really focus too much on it, which was probably a pity because there's so many courses over there like that I would have wished I would have had the opportunity to.
Endless.
Yeah, and I mean the court, like for example, I probably played most of my golf in the winter time. That's because when we were doing a lot of our training indoors, so a lot of people could sneak out. So, in America, when the courses are in the winter time, all the ponds they call them are frozen, so you could literally drive a par 4, or you just almost drive a par 5 because the ground was so hard and frozen. The ball just keep going, and it would actually roll over the hazard. That's probably one of the funniest parts. But no, I never really get to play any big name courses. It's just usually the little 9-hole ones are off the track. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played too many courses overseas, but one that I've sort of played the day before I got married in Las Vegas was the Las Vegas National, and that was I think Tiger Woods won there in 95 or 96, I think, one of his first wins on that particular course. So that was finishing the 18th hole, and it was getting dark, I remember, and I can't believe I let my younger brother beat me on the last hole, basically. I think I shot like a 9 on the last hole, something ridiculous. Went in the water twice. Best course that I like in Australia that I've played, I don't know, probably Barnbougle. Barnbougle. I think certainly the nicest course. I think to me Brookwater was a lot harder to play, as was most of the holes on Pacific Harbour are even probably harder than that of Barnbougle. I think Barnbougle's it's short, but some of the holes are short, but it's still just beautiful, and there's some tricky stuff going on as well in some of those holes, and I'll never forget the birdie I got on one of those holes. So that was.
Well, I think at Barnbougle Lost Farm, when you get a par, you burnt it.
Yeah, well,
because each hole is so hard.
I think it was the seventh hole. Yeah, the seventh hole, hitting a 3-iron hybrid or 4-iron hybrid into the wind, and just up in the air, bang, rolled past the hole, and then basically chipped in just off the edge of the green. Yeah.
And I don't think anybody that complains about bunkers around here needs to go down there, because it's not you see a bunker that's 25 feet deep and it's 30 metres long, then you'll actually realise your bunker up here isn't too bad. So,
Yeah. Now, I guess I sort of got more into golf, I guess about 10 years, or just over a decade ago. I started to get into it really in a bigger way, I guess, more so than in. So I've only really been playing golf for the last 12 years, and not that regularly, really, 12 to 13 years. Once I started doing charity golf days, it was an idea where we said, okay, well, this can make money for our Apex club. We can do a charity golf day. We did the first one at One Teamer back in about 2008. I think it was about 2008, quite some time ago now. And then from then on, I decided, I was going to learn and play a bit of golf. And, I think me and my mate were playing at Albany Links fucking 3 times a week before work for a while. So it was a good way to learn, and it was very, very fun. And then I started following it on TV. I'd go down to, in 2011, I went down to the President's Cup down in Melbourne. And Tiger Woods and all of those guys were playing, and it was quite fun to actually go and watch the event. So I was really into it there for a while. Even my wife sort of got into it. She was definitely into golf a bit as well.
Yep.
So that's how I sort of got into it. But I guess we're sort of going with this question is who are the sort of players that you sort of followed their careers, and who do you support the most in? I guess you can name anybody over the course of time. Who's your favourite player worldwide and in Australia?
I suppose my favourite player of all time, obviously, is probably going to be boring, but it's Tiger Woods. And I know a lot of people probably don't like that, but I find I can separate what he did outside of golf to what he did in golf.
Yep, makes sense.
And I think it's kind of like anything in real life. I think if you dig deep enough in anybody's social life, you're going to find stuff they're not proud of. And obviously, Tiger's was magnified because of who he was. But I really like following, like when Christine and I go watch golf, I like following no-name players. I know it sounds disrespectful, but with no-name players, you don't have any crowds. You can actually hear the caddies' conversation. You get to know some of these players, and I think that's why I like Stuart Appleby so much, because when I first got into golf and went to watch, I think it was the Australian PGA RQ, like in 1997, I think it was. I think Corey Pavin, US Open, when he was there. But back then, Stuart Appleby wasn't huge. So I got a bit of a following. I got to like him, and I found he was kind of like a typical Aussie guy playing golf. But I often find now, as I suppose with running the page, when I ask these questions too, it's quite interesting to see what people say, because I think, I think as much as there's a lot of hatred out there for say people like Tiger, there's also as much love as well, because I think I think there's players out there that it's kind of like John Daly. Like I love John Daly, a lot of people don't, but the trouble is without characters in the sport becomes a bit boring.
Yeah,
and not to say like I don't like what he did, like drinking all this type of stuff. However, we all can't be squeaky clean like Roger Federer in the tennis world, because it'd all be boring. You know what I mean? So, I hate John McEnroe, but if you take him out of the sport, then you might lose a bit of that, entertainment factor.
Yeah.
But and I suppose maybe that's why coming talking about tennis, I like Nick Kyrgios and stuff. I mean, they act like little snots, granted, but it's sometimes exciting to watch. You can live your life through a bit. But no, I think favourite golfer all time, Tiger Woods. The one I looked up to the most, Stuart Appleby. And I did like Jared Lyle as well, because I found Jared Lyle, he was still working at the Golf Clearance Warehouse up until about 2 or 3 years ago, I think. So in between tournaments, he was working at a golf shop, and apparently he was approachable and had chats and stuff like that. So you've got to give it up to guys like that above certain areas of life. They still have a foundation.
Just interesting, you probably don't know this. One of my, favourite golfers, a bit of a character though, Robert Allenby. Because he had a bit of an attitude, and he'd always. I mean, I know it's disrespectful to talk down to your caddies, and I know all that sort of stuff, but sometimes it just gives me a little bit of a laugh. I don't know why. It just.
Well, I think I'm 50-50 on Allenby, because as much as I don't like him, I respect him too, because let's face it, when it comes to the Luke Foundation,
yes.
Jared Lyle, I can't really name another player off the top of my head that does as much as he does a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
And as much as, like that Hawaii incident happened, which was, God knows we'll get to the bottom of that, he was found in the trunk, or he was drunk and he gambled too much. But I do find, you need guys like him on tours and in life, because, the whole Roger Federer, I'm nothing against Roger, but if everybody was not boring, but just everybody played it safe, and you wouldn't have these stories to talk about.
Yeah.
And I find with Robert Allenby, for a while there, when that incident happened, no one cared about his golf. He was just that guy on the golf tour that woke up on the side of the road in Hawaii. But no, I do find he's done a lot for the game. Like I don't think he's won a lot lately, but
no, he hasn't won for probably more than a decade or about a decade.
No, but for some reason last night I started looking at his career earnings. He's won $20 or $30 million.
Yeah,
so
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So he's still probably what he's doing right now is probably a tax write-off for him. Like on the interest he's, but yeah, I know. So yeah.
Yeah, no, he's good. Some of the other players that I think, I'm amazed at Rory McIlroy. He's been, he sort of came onto the scene about 10 years ago, and he's just phenomenal. That someone that with a small sort of build like that can drive the ball so far. And sorry,
a study came out a couple of days ago. I was reading. I was saying that Rory McIlroy is the most highest rated player that gets the most unlucky bounces in golf. And what they were saying is I'll send you a link on YouTube, but they were showing where his ball was bouncing on greens and he was getting, bad hops here and there, and he was saying he's one of the most unrewarded players in golf. But it's true, because you watch his swing, it's amazing. The power he has to drive the ball, but yet I don't think he hasn't really done much in the last 2 or 3 years, I think. He's either been injured or missed a few cuts and stuff, but yeah.
It's what we find though. It's so hard It's really hard to stay at the top, isn't it? It just shows that, and that sort of comes back to how good Tiger Woods was in his prime. This guy, from about 1997 all the way up to 2009, 12 years was just nobody was. There were people winning in between, but not too many. Man, there wasn't a lot of other winners that were sort of that consistent.
And I think the thing a lot of people forget is a lot of players like that in other sports. Like Tour de France, you'll find out they were on drugs or they were doing this and this, where Tiger Woods' stuff was what he did off the course,
Yeah.
So he was able to do that all off the course and still maintain that on that. And so it does make you wonder, like, if he wasn't doing that off the course, how much better could he have been? But how much better could he have been?
Exactly.
Like he was winning so much. And sometimes you feel like some of these lesser tournaments he didn't win, it's kind of like, well, maybe he wasn't taking that serious at the big ones, like, I don't know, but... No, he did won. He's won a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jordan Spieth. He's sort of gone for a bit of a patch. All the great ones, or all the good ones, certainly go through patches where they just don't win. And Adam Scott was dominant and not so dominant, and Jason Day. It sort of just goes round and round, doesn't it? So it's very hard to stay on top. It's just such a. I'm not saying it's not a grueling sport. It's not like. You're physically getting brain damaged or anything like that, but you'll basically just have there are, because of the regularity of how often you play, it's such a hard game to stay on top of and be exactly the same every single time you turn up to the same course to the same And
it was like I said before, any sport that's played on a natural surface like golf, like not talking soccer because all the surfaces are flat, but on golf, like I was saying with Rory, like you could land a foot over to this side over here, your ball kicks that way, and Tiger's kicks that way, a different way. And so a lot of these sports are so unpredictable. Like a lot of golf, like where the ball lands, what it's going to do, how it's going to land in the bunker. It's just, Rory, if he had a different shot or a different approach on one hole, his career could have been a bit different. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of, I think it was like Jordan Spieth at the British Open moment where he had to take the drop on the driving range. He took the drop near all the range trucks or whatever it was, like 2 or 3 years ago. Was it at St Andrews or something? And his life could have been a little bit different had he would have hit that second shot out of bounds again. You know what I mean? Like, but all of a sudden now, it's become like they've had its own little documentary on it, that hole in itself, because of him, how he played it. Like, I suppose golf's a sport where if you win one tournament, you win $3 or $4 million. You've kind of, providing you're pretty sensible how you have your money, you're pretty much set, aren't you? Like, unlike other sports where I think a lot of like tennis players have to play, a lot of these lower key matches like in Miami and all these other weird places just to make a go at it. Where golf, you can potentially win one decent place, one decent tournament, and you're set.
Okay. So I guess a bit about when did you first start getting into doing what you're doing now as far as your business for car detailing? How long ago did that all start, Brian?
I worked at Redcliffe High as a teacher's aide because I was studying to become a teacher. So I was there after college baseball, so 2003 and 4. And I just didn't find I wasn't enjoying it because with my size, I was probably more used as like an enforcer in like problem kids and stuff like that, where I just didn't want to do that. So I ended up going home and one day after work and cleaning my car and enjoying it. and then I cleaned friends' cars, friends' parents' cars, and then I decided to get an ABN and went from there. So the first few years was kind of slow, but then it probably turned into a full-time job about year 2 or year 3. And then ever since then, it's just been pretty full on. So it's kind of been doing it since 2005, so 15 years. Met a lot of people.
So 15 years, that's quite a while. That's pretty good. Mm.
Yeah, well, I think when I asked the question, when people ask me how long have I been doing it, I used to say, you're not that long, it's just been a new job. And I realised, hold on, no, I've done this the most I've ever done in my life for any other job, so it really is what I do. And I do like it, I don't like it. I suppose the best part about it is the hours I have. So I start at 6 in the morning, I usually finish by 12. A lot of people say I don't work that much, but the trouble is I don't take breaks. I work a solid
6 hours
like that.
Yeah. Mm.
So, and when I'm on my lunch break, the average person's starting at 9 o'clock in the day. So, but yeah, it's kind of a boring job, but I mean, your job satisfaction is kind of funny because you see the car on the worst day and you leave it on its best. You don't actually see it in between. So you come back and you do it all over again. So, yeah.
But obviously you meet different people, you see different cars, so there's probably there's obviously enough variety there to obviously get you where you've got 15 years doing it. So
yeah, you see all walks of life, the rich and the poor kind of thing, flipping cars and trying to make money and cleaning Bentleys and yeah, so you see all walks of life and different kind of conversations. And you're right, you meet all different types of people.
And then also when you've been doing it as long as you've been doing it, you can always people can always consider that you're an expert at doing it. You've got.
Well, I think I forget sometimes because when people say I clean cars professionally, I always go, that's my job, and I forget. Well, I suppose I'm a professional car detailer because that's why. But I've never really considered myself that because I thought, like if somebody comes over and paints my house, I call them a house painter, but realistically they're a professional painting service. But I suppose nowadays we just say to call them the trade what it is: a car cleaner, a painter, a plumber. You just forget about it that it's a profession.
It's a matter of someone else, and you would have come across this where other car detailers haven't done such a good job, and you said, oh, shit, they should have done this, they should have done that.
Yeah. And I think talking about social media, that's probably the one thing that's really come into our industry is people wanting to do it on the weekend for a bit extra cash, or they say, for example, I think there's one guy around my area that's a panel beater, so he wants to make a bit extra cash, so he does it on the weekends. But he, all the customers that use him then post on Facebook, can you come back and finish the job? Then he just blocks them, So I suppose the best thing about me is I've been going 15 years. I've got a page for my car company, cleaning company that's gone for about 10. So there's a bit of history there, people can see it. But I think you can say that about a lot of trades now, is that everybody, social media, what they have brought in, and also that other place, there's another app where you can register a service and they come and do it. I forgot what it's called, but you probably need to check their background first too, because everybody can clean a car, but can they do it properly? And I think that's the difference is people want their service done as cheap as they can, but you can't actually get cheap and quality don't go together. And you can probably say that about anything in life. Like if you're an accountant and stuff, somebody says I'll do it for half price, you kind of wonder why.
Yeah.
What corners they cut in.
Yep. Yeah, so what's just to give your business a bit of a plug, what's the name of the business and how they best to contact you as well?
It's Blitz, B-L-I-T-Z, Blitz Car Detailing. It's on Facebook. I don't run a website because I find nowadays...
As long as they've got the Facebook page,
media, Yeah, and social media, search engines go above websites anyway. My phone number is 0402 620 111, but that's all on there. So, and I'm on the Brisbane North side, so pretty much from the inner city, Brisbane River, to that north place is where I go. A lot of people get upset I don't go further out, but the trouble is it's petrol, it's more time and stuff like that. So I just have my own little area and that's where I work in. So
exactly, that's great. Now just going back to golf a little bit, it's obviously what I do love about what your page does, the Dirty Debertie. Where did the actual name Dirty Debertie come from? First of all, is it just roll off the tongue one day and it stuck, or?
Yeah, I think because I used to be called Brian Debert Golf Vlogs Australia, and then I started doing so many videos because it's too time consuming. When you do a video, if you say the wrong word, for example, a quick story, I did a video and I was doing a review on a glove from Forte Golf, and they loved the review because all it was a universal fit glove, meaning if you had a big hand or a small hand, this glove was going to fit. And because I've got big hands, and I said on the review, and this is not the company that got angry, this is YouTube and Facebook. YouTube. I said, unless you're a midget or a giant like me, you probably don't want to buy this glove because it's probably going to rip or it's going to be too big. And Forte laughed and they said, it's true, it's made, more people are 90% of people are middle average size hands, so that's what they made it for. And anyway, you got flagged on YouTube. I got a year ban for a certain. I can still put videos up, but I got a year ban in terms of allowing my videos to trend and stuff like that. And so I just thought, oh my god, you can go on YouTube if you dig deep enough, you can find Mexican drug cartel images. And I've gone and said, something a midget or a giant, and I got in trouble for that. So I decided to leave YouTube and create a Facebook page, and then I realised, I'm not doing videos anymore, so I can't call myself that. And then anyway, my nickname in mine was Debertie. And I can't remember how it came about. We were playing in Malady, and somebody said that was a jerky shot Debertie, like that. And we were all laughing, going, that's a pretty cool dirty Debertie golf. And the funny thing about it, I find myself explaining that, why is it called dirty Debertie? It's like, it's just an expression, because Macca's is McDonald's, I don't know, it's just kind of, it just grew from there.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
That's pretty much it. So I suppose marketing-wise, it's probably not the best move, but then again, people remember the name Dirty Debertie.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know the average person, an old lady at the golf club will go, why is it called Dirty Debertie? It's like, it's probably not aimed at you,
But the thing is, it's obviously you don't want to confuse people too, because it's great. It's a great sort of Facebook group that you've formed there. It's all really good stuff. Great knowledge that's been shared, great ideas, great tips. And basically what everyone thinks about this and what everyone thinks about this issue. It's all great, and I love the can of worms thing you're doing and the lives.
I think the beauty about social media, I think what a lot of pages have got is that, with the can of worms thing, I say there's no right or wrong answer, it's a open conversation. And I think a lot of golf pages that are accountable to, say, other brands or people or associations, they kind of have to toe the line of what they say. And I suppose if I was, if I was a golf pro at my local golf shop, I would probably run this page because, like any industry, stuff gets around, and you don't want to be known for that guy that's rocking the boat where, I know a lot of pros, when they meet me or say hello, they like it, but they don't publicly put their name to it because they're afraid of what comes of it. Because I think the PGA's got to be an upstanding image. It's got to be, t-shirt tucked in, no swearing, stuff like that. I'm not saying there's anything right or wrong with that. I'm just saying it's kind of like where they've got to keep up an image. But I think with my page, it's kind of like there's no real image to keep up. We're not doing anything wrong, but we're just talking about the stuff that generally other people don't talk about. I think it's kind of, sometimes it's good for a page to allow things to be talked about in a healthy way rather than just bottling it up and then it all comes out of the wrong place at the wrong time. And I think what we're seeing right now is kind of like with the coronavirus lockdown and stuff. I think there's a lot of people that are dying to have an opinion to say, but they don't want to say it too loudly because, the sole majority don't want to listen to it, kind of thing. So, and I think that's why I've been kind of focusing a bit now on what's been happening now with the virus, because it's I think there are a lot of people out there that you generally want to talk about, but there's no real avenue for them to talk about it. So
no, excellent. No, and probably one of the other things, just to one of the last things to talk about, unless you've got something else.
No.
The golf trips that you organise, I wish I'd been on one of them. Obviously they're really good, and you're getting all the people from all over the eastern side of Australia together in a lot of cases, coming out to, tell us a bit about some of the golf trips that you've had, what you guys have got up to. The Coral Cove one sounded like that was a really good trip last year.
Yeah,
and obviously King Island was a bit of a different trip where you're sort of going with, I guess, people that wanted to go over to King Island.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, King Island was organised by somebody else, but they invited me along. But I knew all of them through the page anyway, the Tambourine Mountain Golf Club. But the Coral Cove one we organised, it was actually quite amazing because the spots filled up real quick. But I think of the value. But I suppose the difference between what I'm doing and maybe like a professional tour group is, the page makes that money because it's hard to justify making money, because then when you start making money you're accountable. Where if it's clear that you're not really making money, people aren't really don't get that upset then. But the Coral Cove trip, I think it was like $250 or something like that for 3 nights accommodation.
Gee, that's bloody cheap, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're complaining about that, then you can you probably complain about a lot of other stuff too. But
so about a dozen people on that trip, was it? About 12?
I think it was 14, 12. Because we had 16 on, I think it was 12 or 13. No, it might have been. No, I think it was 15. I can't remember, because I know we had 16. We had 4 groups of 4.
Okay.
Yes, it would have been 16. Because 2 people that came along for the golf, and our followers of the page from Rockhampton, and I think Bungara. But no, generally I do find they're hard. Especially when you're running, I find that the trips that are easy to organise are the ones you go away for. the golf days that are the ones you plan like at Maloney or wherever else, they're hard to plan because they're the ones where people are more likely to skip out on not go. Any kind of trip where you're asking people to pay money up front, you know how serious they are. Any kind of golfing trip or thing you plan where people can pay money on the day, they're the ones that people are like, oh, I forgot about it, you know what I mean? So it's like anything in life. But I think it's kind of like the page has, whenever I do like a golf day, you see a totally different, you see a very different kind of group as what you might see at another golf day. Like a lot of social golf clubs are usually guys between the ages of 45 and say 60, where at some of my golf days this week we'll have some ladies playing different ages, we'll have a lot of guys playing from the ages of say 14 or 15 up to 80. So it's quite a different group. And with the golf days I try to do, we try to basically say that even if you came with 3 guys in a car, we don't want you to play with those 3 guys because you know them. So you're better off going out there and playing with different people.
I agree. It makes a better day.
Bring your business cards. When you exchange, shake hands at the end, give a business card out because it's all about, you know, meeting people, getting it out there. So, yeah.
Excellent, mate. I guess anything else that you wanted to add to the podcast today? Any other stories that you wanted to tell or anything else?
No, really. I suppose my golf page is probably the heart there of Brian Debert Golf. But, yeah, just I think... yeah, I don't know. I suppose the one question I always get asked is, "What's the future of the page?" And I really don't know. The future of the page is
just keep it going, man. I just love it. I reckon the future of the page is. I mean, it's like anything. I mean, I started the podcast as a bit of a something to keep me occupied, I guess, just to find out more information about people that I wanted to find out more information out about, get them to share their stories, Brian. And it's been great to have you on, you know, as a guest on the podcast. I think you like everybody, you've got a different story. You've got you're doing some great things in the world. I think having a Facebook page that, you know, people are interested in and that you created, it's something certainly to be proud of. And don't forget that. I mean, you certainly got a good number of followers. You do a lot of good things, you know, and I think you got to remember that all the time. And people do care about it, and people obviously love it. And they love golf, you know, and that's what it's all about. They've got a connection with golf, and there's not a lot out there for them to. There's not many other Facebook pages that are out there that people know about, like yours. I mean, yours is pretty much one of a kind. There's not. I'm sure there's other pages out there, but I haven't seen them. I haven't come across them. And
it's funny you say that because I think a lot of people ask me that and they say, "What?" And then that's the next question: is what is the future of it? Because they don't know what it is, and because they've never seen it before. And I said, honestly, the future is, like I said before, I don't know. It's just going to be what it is. But I think, like I said before, sometimes it does weigh your toll on you because when you get a page of a certain size, you get a lot of opinions that you never used to have, and your page is, say, a quarter the size. And you do get like a lot of know-it-alls and a lot of people that
you're going to get that. You're certainly going to get that. That's for sure. As you get more people,
exactly. Yeah, and sometimes it gets you down. But I think it's over the last few weeks I've just realised that sometimes it's better just to like the comment and ignore it. Because
exactly,
honestly,
it's very important.
If you engage like a fish biting a hook in the ocean, and that's what they want. Like sometimes I try myself with a few friends and stuff, but it's usually because it comes out of love and we're just having some fun. You know, I mean, like a story. But I think some people now, especially on social media, they really get their jollies out of like watching a page or watching, say, a thread or a comment just turn to shit. You know, like I suppose like anything like when your page goes from say 100 people to 1,000 people, you're going to get 10 times more of everything. So, but I think my page is a bunch of guys that like golf and they've met a lot of people have become friends through it and stuff. And like I said, I think I started the Facebook page because I felt there was a bit of a niche in the market that wasn't filled in terms of just like a page that could be about lifestyle. I mean, had Christine's on there, Macy's on there, the dog. You know, the golf page is about golf, but if we go to the markets and buy a nice coffee or something like that, we'll put that on there too. So it's kind of, I think the page is, it's more, I suppose the easiest way to say it's just a life, I don't know, like a life update, you know, whatever we're doing, you know what I mean?
That's great.
And it could almost be a golf page where you don't see me actually playing golf for the next 3 months, you know what I mean? Exactly. So it's kind of, that's it, so yeah.
What and any sort of other hobbies that you have? I did notice that you obviously like to follow the Brisbane Bullets there as well during the season.
Yeah, I mean, I played basketball my whole life, and it wasn't until my dad basically said we've got to, you know, well, you reach when you get like decent enough at any sport, you kind of got to pick which way you want to go. And like I said before, I think I was 6'4" back then. I'm 6'6" now, and
Jeez, yeah.
realistically, in basketball terms, that's not tall. In real everyday life, people will look at me like, "Oh, look how tall he is." But when you go into a college, you see basketball players. That's if you play basketball, the point guards are 6'6". And I didn't really have great vertical jump, so I was never going to go anywhere out of Division 2 basketball. But I like basketball. I like lawns and turfs. And it's funny, the funny thing about I like grass so much as I didn't realise, but I'd say at least 10%, maybe 20% of the people who follow my page are into that too. So by me putting photos of my lawn, I'm actually learning from my followers what to do. So when I actually had grubs, I think, I don't know if you remember, I put a photo of my lawn, and within about an hour, somebody told me what to do, what to buy. And I think Stuart, who watches my page, actually runs 3 bunnings up the coast. So he actually sent me product images of what to get. So it's kind of like I suppose it's my life and Christine's life on show, and then everybody else can see and engage. And like that, that's probably part of a different question you asked before, but I suppose I'm into golf, turf, food.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and the thing is, you as a follower will find out what I'm into when I put a photo up.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And, what's your favourite NBA team? Do you follow the NBA at all?
It's funny, I used to follow Chicago Bulls as my favourite NBA team, but I find
back in the day.
I follow college basketball more than the NBA because I follow the NBA.
Favourite college team?
Probably Missouri, University of Missouri.
Where you're from,
or Kansas State. But I find college basketball, it's more of a team game. They pass it more. Where the NBA, it's just about shooting threes and dunking the ball.
It is. That's what it's become. That's what it's become.
Yeah, it's basically just an extension of their All-Star weekend. But I follow the Bullets, and I like AFL, but I like an underdog, and I think what I like, that's probably why I follow the Gold Coast Suns, but it's hard. But,
yes, the Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I really just liked what happened with Lee Matthews at the Lions back then. I just felt like the players got a bit too much, in my opinion, it just felt like they got a bit too much control, and then they kind of pushed them out, and that's another story. But I think what I liked about the Suns was a bit of a fresh place for me to go for, but honestly, like, a team like the Gold Coast Suns find new ways to lose games, and when you drive an hour down to go watch a game, that means you've got to drive an hour back. And that's a lot of conversation, a lot of anger in the car. And I found we were stopping at Yatla Pies, singing our sorrows and just buying a donut, wondering what the hell was going on.
I haven't been there for a while, but I love the Yatla Pies.
Oh, yeah. But no, basketball, baseball, golf, that's my sports. I play anything really, anything that kind of, but yeah, I think the page and what I'm into is pretty much, I'll take a photo and put it up there, and I'll find out if anybody else is into it. Then I'll get more into things as more people get into things. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
No worries, Brian. It's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast today, mate. We'll get it uploaded this afternoon if you like, and you can obviously share it to your Dirty Debertie Facebook page as well, and no doubt you'll get hopefully we'll get quite a few downloads from there as well, because people do on that page they know obviously a bit about you, but there's always something they can learn if they download this sort of podcast to find out something they may not have known about you. So I think that's it's always good. So thank you very much for being a guest, and we'll get this uploaded. Have a great rest of the weekend and Easter. I know we're all sort of in hibernation a bit, and but it is what it is, and we just hope that we'll be able to get out there and life will be back to normal at some point. We'll see.
Sounds good.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
Thanks, Tim.